Hi everyone, this is a very quick tutorial for a few widgets that I've written which allow you to do different things with your OBS or XSplit scenes. The first one's going to show you how to add the box art for the game that you're currently playing on Twitch to your scene. The second one's going to show you how to add an uptime counter. And the third one is just a quick demo of a slideshow that I've written for OBS Studio because it doesn't actually have one built in natively at the moment. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to my GitHub page, which is here, and there's a link in the description down below for each one of these. And you don't need to worry about any of this. All you need to do is go to download zip over here on the right hand side, let that download, and then open the zip file, and then just select this, do copy, and then paste it to wherever you're going to store the files. Now I've already copied this down, so I'm just going to skip these, and there we go. So it's all in there. Let me give you a quick tour of the files. There's not really actually too much stuff you need to worry about in here. So in here there's one main file, which is the HTML file, which is used to display the box art. There's a README file with some instructions in if you want to read that. Then there's a CSS file, the license file. You can have a read of that if you like, and the scripts. Now, to configure this properly, to get the game from your stream, you need to edit this file. Now, I tried to edit in notepad.exe, but it doesn't actually work very well. So I'd actually recommend that you download a tool called Notepad++. There's also a link for that in the description down below. It's a really, really good editor, and it will allow you to edit these files without the problems that Notepad gives you. It also recognizes the different file types, and so it won't try and save them incorrectly and things like that. So we're going to edit this in Notepad++. So I'm just going to right click on it and do edit with Notepad++. And you should see exactly this. And don't really worry, you don't need to worry about any of this. All you need to do is on this line here, you need to change the change this value here to reflect your channel name. And then once you've done that, you need to do file, save, and save the file. I will just make a quick change. So let's just change it to Imagine 42, file, save, and then that will update over with your channel name. Let me just put my channel name back in and save that. The one other thing that we'll quickly look at in here, and I don't recommend you change it particularly, but in this section here, there are 3 sizes. The box art available on Twitch comes in 3 different sizes. The pixel sizes are here, and you can actually change it to medium or small if you'd like to, but I would recommend just sticking with large, following the instructions that I'm going to give you on how to add it to OBS. And then if you need a smaller version of the image, just shrink the image in OBS. Okay, so that's all the configuration we need to do, so that's great. The next thing we need to do is add it to OBS. So we finished with this file, so we can close this here. Let's bring up OBS, and I've just created a blank scene here. Obviously, you'd have your game or your whatever images here. It's really, really easy. So this is an OBS Studio. If you can do exactly the same thing in OBS Classic, but choose the CLR browser instead, and you can also do the same thing in XSplit. And there are instructions in the README on how to add it for each different type of broadcasting software. But we're going to use OBS Studio because that's what I use all the time. So we're just going to do add browser source. We'll give it a sensible name. Let's call it box art. And then we're going to go make sure it's visible and then click OK. And then the key thing we need to do here is we need to change this to choose a local file. So we go to local file here, and when we browse, and then all you need to do is go to the directory where you saved the download. So Twitch Box Art Master, and then select twitchboxart.html, and then open that. You then need to change this to reflect the size of the images. Now the default one is 272 by 380. Leave it to 30 frames a second. Currently, OBS is adding this default CSS in, that's fine. I would also suggest that you check the shutdown when not active button, because it stops it contacting Twitch on a regular basis to see what game you're playing. Okay. And there you go. Hopefully you saw that. It flicked up to the purple question mark to start with, and then it went and got the game. And that's how the tool works. It actually does go and load a default image first before it goes to Twitch to display your current game. Okay. Now, I'm going to very, very quickly show you something else. I'm just going to pull that into the middle of the screen. The first thing is, if you wanted to shrink the size, you could do that just by dragging and dropping. So if you need it to be smaller, you could. We're going to go and do reset that. So transform, reset transform. So it's back to the default, and drag it back to the middle again. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the game that I'm currently playing on Twitch. So if you bear with me a second. Okay, I've changed the game on Twitch, and it will take a minute or so for this to update with the new box art. The reason for that is that you're not actually allowed to poll Twitch consistently. You have to wait between requests to Twitch to make sure that the servers don't get overloaded. So it can take up to 2 minutes to change your change the art based on the game that you've changed in your Twitch dashboard. The polling interval is every 1 minute because that's the accepted minimum for Twitch. And so you do have to wait, like I say, you do have to wait up to a couple of minutes maybe for it to change. The other thing I would say is that you do have to be a little bit careful. The box art that you gather from Twitch is not necessarily A, up to date, or B, correct. So, for instance, a game I play a lot is called Spin Tires. That game doesn't actually have any box art at all, and so you get the purple question mark. And Crisis, the original Crisis, that displays the Crisis 3 box art. So you do need to do a little bit of testing to make sure that it's getting the right box art. That's nothing to do with the little tool. It's actually to do with the way Twitch is storing and updating and curating its box art. It's a bit unfortunate, really. Most of the modern games work really well. And the other thing to bear in mind is if you've got a very new game, it might not actually have any box art at all. And so you'll get the purple question mark again. There's no other configuration for this, and it should, as I say, just sit in your scene and update based on the current game you're playing. Okay, I just moved that into the corner to prepare for the next one. As you can see, it's changed the game now to City Skylines. It does actually take longer than I thought, and that's because the polling interval is actually slightly longer. I think it's up 2 minutes, so it could be anywhere up to 3 to 5 minutes before it actually updates the game. Normally, most people don't change game too regularly, so that should be fine. Okay, on to the second tool, which is the uptime counter. So I'm just going to minimize OBS and go back to my GitHub page. So the uptime counter is here. This is the URL, and I'll put the URL in the description. Same deal as before. All you need to do is download the zip, open it up, very small files, and then copy this and paste it to wherever you want to store it. Where are we? Test. There we go. So it's all that there. I'm going to, once again, quick tour of the files. So this is the HTML page that displays the uptime. There's a CSS file, which we will need to edit this time. License file, you can have a read of that if you like, and the script file as well. So the first thing we're going to do is let's have a look at the script file first. This is where you can configure things. We're going to open this in Notepad++ again. So right click, edit with Notepad++. And this is actually very, very similar to the configuration you need to make for the previous widget. You need to change your channel name. So you need to update this to change your channel name here. There is another thing which you can change in this configuration file, which is this line here. Now, currently, when the uptime counter is displayed, it will look like this string here. So basically, it'll have the word uptime with a colon and a space, followed by the hours, the minutes, and the seconds that the stream's up for. You can change this text to anything you like. There's an example in the comments here. And you can also change the format. So say, for instance, we wanted to change this to, say, live 4. And just to put the hours and minutes, we could change that to live 4, delete seconds like that. So we just get hours and minutes, and then save that file. And it would display into your uptime counter. Now, that's the only configuration you need to do in here. So that's fine. I'm just going to minimize this because there is another piece of configuration you can actually do as well. So if we go up to CSS and open the style.css in Notepad++, edit with Notepad++, this is a key thing here, is that the font that you use to display in your scene is configurable in the CSS file. And my recommended way for doing this is as follows. We need to actually do two things. So first off, we're going to go to the internet and we're going to search for Google Fonts. Google Fonts. And we can see that there's google.com/fonts. So we're going to go there to the first hit. Now, Google Fonts are best used because they are available everywhere. They're internet-based fonts, and you can basically change the font to however you like it. So if you want to use a font, I would totally recommend using the ones on Google Fonts. They're available in all browsers and everything, so it makes it easy to use. Let's just scroll down here and pick one that we might fancy. So how about Slabo 27? To use this font, it's really easy. You go over to here and click on this arrow, which is Quick Use. Okay. Choose the font weight that you need, which is 400. Bold might be 700 or something like that. This one only has a normal. That's fine. And then that's fine. You need to scroll down here and you need two pieces of information from here. The first piece here, you need to add this code to your website. So let's just go back to the folder we had here and go back up to the HTML file. Now you also need to edit the uptime.html file in this case. So right click on this, edit with Notepad++, and you'll see here, there's actually a line here which references a font. What you need to do is go to the end of this line, press return, and then go back to your Google fonts and just select the whole of this line, copy it, copy, go back to the document in Notepad++, paste that line in, whoops. Okay, so we've got Slabo 27 pixels there, right? And then save that file. That's all you need to do in that file. And then in the style.css file, you need to replace this font family with the value for that you can see in the Google page here. So we need to integrate the fonts into your CSS. So we just need to copy this line here, copy, and then go back to our style.css. And we need to replace this Arial line with our line from Google. Save that file, and that's all you need to do to change the font. Notice that one of the things that you can also change in here is the height of your font. Now, I've currently got it set to 40 pixels because that works really well with my stream. You can actually change this size to however you want. So if you wanted a large font, you could change it to 100. And providing your font, your internet font supports that, it will work fine. Just so you're aware, you can actually change the height of the font. I'm currently using 40 pixels, so it doesn't take up too much of the screen. I'm just going to go back here. Okay, so it's really easy once again to add this into OBS Studio. Let's just open OBS Studio again, and let's do add browser source, and we'll call it Uptime. Make the source visible, okay that, and then we need to do what we did again, local file, browse, find our Uptime folder, choose the uptime.html, and open, and there we go. Now, the height we need for this is 50, 10 more than the font size, okay? Frames per second is 30. We can leave the CSS as it stands. Now, the width will totally depend on the text you chose and the size of your font. So what I would recommend you do is you leave it at 800 to start with, and then you can change this size if it's too big to fit into your scene or you need it to be a little bit more compact. Don't forget to click the shutdown when not active button, because that's always good practice with the browser sources. Okay, that. And there you can see that it's added the time in. Now, when you add this for the first time, you won't actually see the text come up. It only comes up when the set stream is live. What it does is it waits there and it polls every minute to see if you're streaming. And as soon as you start to stream, it calculates the uptime and then displays it in the scene. So if you add this and you see it as blank, don't worry. As soon as you go start live streaming, it will actually update the counter and show you the appropriate uptime. Notice here that it's changed the text that we had, so it's got live for, and then this will be hours and minutes, and it's downloaded our font to display it in as well. One thing I have found is that if you do have problems with the font issue, then the one thing you can try to do is from your style.css folder here, select all of this text here and copy it. And then in OBS Studio, right click and go to properties for your uptime and actually just paste that into the CSS window there. I found with a particular font I use called Droid Sans, it doesn't work properly, but if I add the CSS into here, it does work, okay? And that won't affect anything. And like I say, as soon as we start live streaming, this will start to count up. And obviously I can't stream at the moment because I'm using OBS to test. What will happen is that the counter will start and it will count up. Every so often it'll go to Twitch to check to see if the time is right. And what it'll also do is it will just keep counting up. So when you finish streaming, it will take a while for the counter to stop counting up, right? I didn't think that was a problem for anybody, basically because it polls Twitch very irregularly to stop overloading any servers that you're using. So it'll come up as soon as you start streaming. Within a minute or so, it will then start counting up the time, and it will go to Twitch to check every so often to make sure the time's correct, and if not, it will correct it. And then when you stop streaming, it will eventually realize that you've stopped streaming, and it will reset this to be blank. There is more information on for this in the README file and also on my blog, which is also linked down below. For each section, there's a write-up for each one of the tools. Okay, the last thing we need to do is have a look at the slideshow. So let me just show you that. So let's minimize OBS and we'll minimize our config file editor. We don't need Google Fonts anymore. This is a useful thing to have. I'll put a link to this down in the description. So the last thing is OBS Slide, which you can find here. This is the GitHub link for it, also in the description. And once again, you just need to download the zip file, which is here. Open it and copy and paste it to the directory where you want to store it. Same as we did with all of the others. Okay. Now, this is a simple slideshow because basically there isn't one currently natively in OBS Studio. You want to use the native one in OBS Classic and XSplit because they're much more configurable and much more manageable. But a few people were complaining that there wasn't one in OBS Studio, so I just wrote one very quickly. You don't need to configure any of this. What you do need to do is add a list of your images that you want to display in your slideshow to the HTML file. So we do need to edit this. So if we right click on it and do edit with Notepad++, you don't need to change any of this up here. But what you do need to change is these lines here. Now you can see there's two example lines. This line here is an example to an image that's on the internet, and this is the an image that's locally on my hard drive. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add another local image. The remote images are just the web link with the either JPG or PNG in. The key thing to remember with this, it is very simple, and so all your images need to be the same size. So to add a local image in, what you need to do is you need to select this line, do copy, and then add it underneath with paste. Then you need to go and find your image locally. So let's just find a local image. I'm going to choose this screenshot, and we need the full path for this screenshot, okay? So the easiest way to do that is to do right click on start, choose run, delete anything that's in the open box there, and then just drag and drop the image over here, and it will give you the full path to that image. Select that all of that, and then copy. And then here, where you can see the image name, you just need to select up to the http/absolute/. That needs to stay there, and that needs to be constant for all local images. And then you just paste in your new image name, okay? So there's D data screenshots and then the name of my image. Okay, let's just tidy up this file and remove the blank lines, so that's fine. So now we've got three images. We've got one on the internet here, one locally on my hard drive, and another one locally on my hard drive. And then just save that. And you can add as many images as you want to this list. So if you need 10 or 20 images, you just need to do the same for each one, add them, and there you go. And like I say, make sure they're all the same size, otherwise the slideshow won't work that well. So that's that. And then all we need to do in OBS is once again do add, choose browser source. We'll call it slideshow. Click on OK. Once again, it's a local file, and browse to the HTML file that we just edited. That's in slideshow HTML. Open. The width and height need to represent the size of the images you want to slideshow. Okay, so mine are all 1920 by 1080. You can leave the frame rate at 30 frames a second, that's fine. Leave the default value here, and then just choose shutdown when not active again. Okay, and as soon as I OK this, it will start to show the slideshow. And there you go, it's picked an image from the internet, and it's picked another image, and then it's picked the image that we've loaded. And basically it cycles around, it fades between each image every 20 seconds, and that's basically all you can do. If you want to stop it showing, then just make it invisible, and if you then want to start it again, you just make it visible again, and it goes back to the very first image on the HTML page that we've edited. If you want to change the speed in which it fades, you can actually do that. If you go and browse to the files that we were looking at before in Slideshow Master, go into Scripts, right click on OBS Slide and do Edit with Notepad++. And this duration here, this one line here, is the amount of time in seconds it takes to fade between one and, it displays one before starting to fade to the other. So say you wanted a 10-second fade, you could change it to 10 seconds, save this file, and then when you go back and open the slideshow again, it will fade much more quickly to the next image. Okay, as you can see, it goes around much more quickly that way. So hopefully you found that useful. I've written these tools really as a way to learn some JavaScript programming, but it's always nice to have something useful to write. You can check out any updates I make on my GitHub page, or follow me on Twitter, because I usually post out when I've made an update on Twitter. Please let me know in the comments if you have any problems, and if there's anything else that you'd be interested in seeing, then do let me know. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back again soon. Cheers.